YouTube, what is going on? It is your boy Sports Culture, and I am back with another video here today. And in this video, it's going to be a 7-round mock draft for the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm very intrigued with what they're doing this offseason. Yes, they traded Geno Smith, they traded DK Metcalf, but they also went out there and got Sam Darnold. And this is a team that, whether they kept Sam Darnold, whether they kept Geno Smith, desperately had to address the interior offensive line, and that's what I'm going to be doing for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, they did trade Geno Smith, and they did release Tyler Lockett, so this team is in desperate need of wide receivers as well. So in this mock draft, we're going to go out there, try to get some wide receivers, try to get some offensive line help for this team, and more defensive help as well on that D-line. If you're interested in more draft and tell videos and mock drafts on teams, please consider subscribing. Without further ado, let's get right into this video. So real quick, before we do go into the mock draft simulator, I wanted to go over their free agent moves so far to this point. They did sign Sam Darnold, like I said, to a 3-year, $100.5 million contract with only $55 million guaranteed. So not a bad deal one bit. More of like a 2-year deal. And if Sam Darnold doesn't replicate what he did for the Vikings in 2024, it wouldn't hurt them too bad to split ties and go a different direction, or just draft a quarterback in next year's draft class. They did sign Josh Jones for a 1-year deal. I do like this signing. This was a team that just desperately needed more offensive linemen, and I'm pretty sure he's going to probably play on the interior instead of offensive tackle. I think they'll probably have Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas right now at least play the tackle position. They re-signed Ernest Jones. This was a very good re-signing. They needed that. And Jerrion Reed, who's a very good D-tackle for this team. So that's all they've done to this point. Now let's go right into the mock draft simulator. So here we are finally in the mock draft simulator, and I made a trade instantly with the LA Chargers. We gave them pick 18 and traded back from pick 18. In return, got pick 22, 86, and 124. And with this pick, man, I was going to go with Gray Zabel and going to just get more offensive line help for this team. We desperately need it, or the Seattle Seahawks desperately need it. But with this pick, I'm going to go with the wide receiver, man. I haven't seen too many Seahawks mock drafts make this since the Sam Darnold signing. And I feel like, you know, they traded DK Metcalf. They let go of Tyler Lockett. On the roster right now, you got Jackson Smith and Jigba and Jake Bobo. Those are the two only active guys that, at least I know, have caught NFL passes. Maybe there's somebody else on that roster. I know they have a lot of like younger dudes on there, but I don't think they've caught an NFL pass yet. So really the only guys you have right now are Jake Bobo and Jackson Smith and Jigba. So with this pick, we are going to go with Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas, to give Sam Darnold another option and another reliable option to look for in this team, or on this offense. 6 foot, 195, 21 years old, and I think this dude is a top 5 wide receiver in this year's draft class. Is an elite route runner on all 3 levels of the football field. Has some great yak ability as well, some solid yak ability. But the one thing you will notice about his game the most is, for a guy that's only 6 foot, he has the ability to win 50-50 balls or 50-50 contested catches when they're in the air. Had a 61.1 contested catch rate this year, so very, very elite. Had a 65.2 grade versus man coverage. Had 58 receptions on 83 targets for 987 yards, 17 yards/receptions, and 9 touchdowns. He was very huge for this Texans team down the stretch for the college football playoffs. He was definitely the #1 target and the #1 option for that team. So with this pick for the Seattle Seahawks, we are going to go with Matthew Golden. Give them another reliable wide receiver. Match him up with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Get 3 elite route runners and 3 guys that have very unique skill sets at the wide receiver position. And definitely with my next pick, I am going to address the interior offensive line, or just look to get more help on the offensive line. But with this first pick, we are going with Matthew Golden, just to get more talent in that wide receiver room that desperately needs it now that DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are gone. So here we are at pick 50 for the Seattle Seahawks, and they did sign back Ernest Jones, like I showed you guys at the beginning of this video. So there isn't no need to really go linebacker, at least super early in this draft class. I was actually going to go with Demetrius Knight Jr., the linebacker from South Carolina, but there's just no point now that they got Ernest Jones back. So with this pick, we are going to go with the edge rusher, and that is Braden Swinson, the edge from LSU. I have been saying in my Packer mock draft, because I'm a Packers fan, that I think he's a 3-4 pass rusher, a 3-4 defensive end, a 3-4 outside linebacker, whatever you want to call it, at the next level. And the Seattle Seahawks run a 3-4 defensive scheme. And I feel like this guy is one of the quicker off the ball, or like one of the quicker edge rushers off the ball. He has a very quick first step, does a very good job of converting speed to power, is a very disruptive player. This year he had like over 40 pressures, or hurries, whatever you want to call it. Oh, actually, we'll go ahead and do the... Yeah, he had 43 hurries, 8 quarterback hits, and 9 sacks in 13 games. He's 6'4", 250, had a 90.3 pass rush grade this year, had a 69.6 run defense grade. And that's the one thing I noticed when I watched film is he's over-aggressive when holding the edge and taking angles to stop the run. Even when pass rushing, sometimes he takes a bad angle. He's over-aggressive and runs himself out of the play. But he's a very, very high-level pass rusher. Had a 91.4 true pass rush grade and had a 22.1 pass rush win rate, which is very elite. So with this pick, we are going Braden Swinson for the Seattle Seahawks right here, just to give them some more pass rushing help. This is a team that could definitely use that. And he does get drafted 9% by Seahawks fans when they make mock drafts. I just feel like this is a very good pick for the Seattle Seahawks. I feel like he's a Seahawks player, if that makes sense, because of his speed, his height, his frame for the position. So with this pick, we are going with Braden Swinson, the edge from LSU. So here we are at pick 82 for the Seahawks, and now here's when we start addressing the interior offensive line for Seattle, so Sam Darnold could actually operate from the pocket. The first guy is going to be Tate Ratledge, the guard from Georgia, who's very athletic, and I've seen him get drafted or mocked to the Seattle Seahawks plenty of times. Just feels like a guy that needs to be in blue and neon green, whatever Seattle's colors are. 6'6", 320, 23 years old, is a little bit older, but is a very good athlete for the guard position. Played in 10 games this year, allowed 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits, and 4 hurries. The previous year allowed 0 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, and 2 hurries. Had a 74.7 run block grade, had a 77.3 pass block grade, had a 71.4 zone grade, had a 70.9 gap grade, and had a 72.2 true pass block grade. He's most likely going to be the replacement for Anthony Bradford, the right guard for the Seattle Seahawks. I think that's his name, who had a abysmal year last year, giving up a lot of total pressures. And I'm going to be honest, like, I feel like the offensive line for Seattle, I feel like everybody could be upgraded, if that makes sense. Like Charles Cross, yes, he's an up-and-coming tackle and has shown some flashes here and there, but he gave up over 45 plus pressures last year and 6 sacks, had like 8 or 9 or 7 penalties. So yes, he is young, but giving up a lot of pressures. I mean, we could definitely look to upgrade, and Sam Darnold isn't the greatest from the pocket, so who knows if there's a tackle that I really do like later on for the Seahawks. I will most likely go with a tackle as well, but this pick right here is going to be Tate Ratledge, the guard from Georgia, who will most likely be a day 1 starter over Anthony Bradford. So here we are at pick 86 for the Seattle Seahawks, and with this pick, I am going to go with Wyatt Millam, the tackle from West Virginia, who is more of a left tackle, and I know that is what Charlie Cross plays right now, and who is at the moment probably the only tackle, the only offensive lineman on this Seahawks roster that probably is maybe at the moment unmovable. Like I said, I think you could definitely upgrade from him, but he's still young. He has shown flashes here and there of being a solid tackle and run blocker, or a solid tackle in terms of pass blocking and run blocking, but did give up over like 45 pressures last year and 6 sacks. So with this pick, we are going with Wyatt Millam, not to upgrade and start over Charles Cross by any means, but just to bring more competition to that position, and maybe he could transition to the right tackle spot. I was actually looking for a right tackle in this area so we could replace Abraham Lucas or find somebody to compete with Abraham Lucas for the right tackle spot, but there's no like good right tackles on the board right now, so I went with Wyatt Millam, who was the best available tackle on the board right now, who, like I said, is a left tackle. Probably wouldn't be starting at all, but would just be a guy that would go in there for competition and maybe can transition to the right tackle position. Played in 11 games this year, had a 706 offensive snaps, 349 run block snaps, 356 pass block snaps, allowed 0 sacks, 0 hits, and 6 hurries. The previous year, same thing, 0 sacks, 0 hits, and 9 hurries. So very good back-to-back years in terms of not allowing sacks and not allowing hurries. With this pick, we are going with Wyatt Millam just to get more depth on that offensive line position for the Seattle Seahawks, and maybe this is a guy who could branch out to right tackle and start over Abraham Lucas. So here we are at pick 124, and with this pick, I want to go with another wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. This team desperately needs help at the wide receiver position, especially because DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are gone. We did go earlier with our first round pick and select Matthew Golden, so now we got Matthew Golden Jackson Smith and Jigba and Jake Bobo. But with this pick, I'm going to go Torrey Horton, who's just a very solid player, man. Like, he does everything very fluid, very smooth. 6'3", 180-ish, or 185, I should just put it right here. 6'3", 185, but can run routes very fluid, very smooth, has a great catch radius, has great hands. Maybe not like the most explosive athlete or most given athlete at the wide receiver position, and maybe he's not going to be a guy that takes the top off defenses by any means, but, you know, if you need a guy to run a drag, a dig, it's 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, you need these big yards, you need somebody to go out there, use their frame on this team. Torrey Horton's probably that guy for the Seattle Seahawks team now. I really like him for this team, especially because we have a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba, who primarily does most of his work from the slot. You have a guy like Matthew Golden, who does a little bit of both slot and outside receiver. And then you get a guy like Torrey Horton, who primarily does a lot of his work from the wide, or from the sideline, or boundary, I should say. So with this pick, we are going Torrey Horton, the wide receiver from Colorado State, just to give this Seattle Seahawks team more weapons for Sam Darnold, my bad. So here we are, pick 137, and with this pick, I am going to go with guard Luke Kandra from Cincinnati. Played more of the right guard position in college, and I know we drafted a right guard earlier in Ratledge. I don't know why I said Ratledge. In Ratledge, but I think Luke has the ability to play the right guard position and the left guard position in the NFL. It really does give you some versatility, although he didn't play it in the collegiate level. It is 6'4", 323, so he has good height and weight. This year in 2024, played in 12 games, allowed 0 sacks, 1 hit, and 0 sacks, 1 hit, and 7 hurries. The previous year, 4 sacks, 1 hit, and 12 hurries. And the year before that, he only played in 12 games, but allowed 0 sacks, 0 hits, and 5 hurries. I think he's a very solid pass blocker. As a run blocker, I like to see him get a little bit better. I think he has the physicality tools and athletic tools to be better as a run blocker. But as a pass blocker, I really like what I saw. Very solid. And like I said, we did draft a right guard earlier in Ratledge, but I think Luke Kandra could play right guard and left guard for the Seattle Seahawks in the NFL level. Doesn't get drafted by many Seahawks fans when they make mock drafts. Doesn't get drafted at all, it seems. But with this pick, we are going to Luke Kandra, the guard from Cincinnati, just to give us some more interior depth on the offensive line. The Seahawks did only sign, Josh Jones, the offensive tackle, but who's going to play guard for the Seahawks, to a 1-year deal, and he is an older dude, so you could definitely get another guy in Luke Kandra in this mock draft or in this draft class, and, you know, have that guy be the future replacement for the free agent the Seattle Seahawks just signed. So here we are, pick 173, and like I said earlier, they did re-sign Ernest Jones, so maybe going with the linebacker earlier in the rounds wasn't as needed, but right here at this pick, we are going to go with Cody Lindenberg, the linebacker from Minnesota, who I like fairly well as a linebacker. Very good tackler, very secure tackler. As a coverage defender, as a linebacker, maybe not the greatest, but I like this dude as somebody who could just come in first, second down against the run and make some secure tackles. Has a great size at 6'3", 240, is a little bit bigger for the linebacker position. And I'd say like his athleticism is okay. His speed, sideline to sideline, is okay. It's nothing impressive, but he does have some solid speed. This year at 68 tackles, 25 assisted tackles, and 14 missed tackles. So this isn't going to be necessarily a star or anything like that, but could just be a really good depth piece for the Seattle Seahawks. And Cody Lindenberg is a very good tackler, and I could see the Seattle Seahawks maybe targeting him come draft week. Does get drafted 10% by Seahawks fans when they make mock drafts. So for this pick, we are going Cody Lindenberg, the linebacker from Minnesota, for more depth for the Seattle Seahawks. And so here we are at pick 186, and with this pick, it's a no-brainer. I'm going with Jonah Monheim, who's a guy I really do like a lot because of his versatility. Played a lot of snaps at center this year, played a lot of snaps the previous year at left tackle, and played a fair amount of snaps at right guard in 2022 and right tackle in 2022. So this is a guy that's very versatile, and for a Seattle Seahawks team that just needs depth and needs guys on that offensive line, Jonah Monheim seems like the perfect fit for the Seattle Seahawks. 6'5", 310, 22 years old, and I know I have drafted a fair amount of offensive linemen already with Ratledge, Wyatt Millam, and Luke Kandra, which is already 3 offensive linemen. But this is going to be the last one right here. I think Jonah Monheim is a guy who could really actually have starting potential, whether you put him at the center position, the guard position, or even the tackle position for the Seattle Seahawks. So here we are, pick 212, and with this pick, I am going with R.J. Mickens, the safety from Clemson. I wanted to actually get a legit safety for the Seahawks earlier, but most of the top guys were off the board already. So here we are later on in the draft getting R.J. Mickens, a 6', 210 safety who is a very good coverage safety. I will admit that. He is a very good coverage safety. Could work on his overall strength and tackling, but is a very good coverage safety. Played in 439 coverage snaps, had 55 tackles, 18 assisted tackles, and 11 missed. Played primarily in back deep and in the box. I just feel like with his versatility, playing in the box and playing back deep, could be a very solid fit for the Seahawks team. Had an 89.8 coverage grade, had a 69.2 run defense grade, had a 13.1 missed tackle rate, had a 24.1 forced incompletion rate, and had a 7.3 average depth per run tackle. So could definitely work on his tackling and his overall strength. But as a coverage defender at the safety position, I really liked what I saw on film. Was very stout and very solid. Allowed 21 receptions on 29 targets, 59.6 pass rating allowed, and 1 touchdown allowed to 2 interceptions, and 7 forced incompletions. So with this pick, we are going with R.J. Mickens just to get more depth into that secondary room, or to that safety room, I should say. Even though they got a fair share amount of guys that I do like, and Julian Love, Kobe Bryant, who is fairly solid, and they do have Kevon Wallace, who I think was hurt last year, if I'm not mistaken. So they do have a fair amount of guys, but you can never stop adding more depth into any position in the NFL. So with this pick, we are going R.J. Mickens, the safety from Clemson. So here we are, pick 229, and the player I'm going to go with, you could say it's a little bit of a reach, is Elijah Badger. And this is somebody who I'm barely starting to get familiar with. I really am barely starting to get familiar with this guy, but man, he's a stud on film, at least what I saw. I like what I seen. 6'1", 192. Had an 81.5 receiving grade this year. Had a 2.96 yards per route run this year. Had a 0 drop rate this year. Had a 68.8 contested catch rate. And had an 88.5 grade versus man coverage. In 12 games this year, had 39 receptions on 61 targets for 806 yards, 20.7 yards/reception. This dude is a deep threat, a big play just waiting to happen, and 4 touchdowns. Like I said, this Seahawks team is in just desperate need of talent at that wide receiver room, especially after trading DK Metcalf and letting go of Tyler Lockett. We did draft Matthew Golden. We did get Toy Horton. But this is just to round out the wide receiver room and bring more talent. And, don't be surprised if Elijah Badger is a guy who surprisingly becomes a fairly productive wide receiver in the NFL and is considered a steal later on when we look back at this draft. And finally, to finish this mock draft for the Seattle Seahawks at pick 236, we're going to go Mac McWilliams, who is a guy I really do like towards the end of the drafts for almost any team that needs just more guys in the secondary room or in the cornerback position. Obviously, the Seahawks have 2 tremendous cornerbacks in Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon, but they could definitely add some more guys in there. Is it the right cornerback right now is Trey Brown, who is solid, is serviceable, but they could definitely add some more talent in there. And I'm not saying Mac McWilliams is going to be the guy that's going to take a spot by any means, but he's a solid dude when you watch him on film. I liked his man coverage abilities. Is a smaller dude around like 5'9", 5'10", but gives you some versatility inside and out. Did play a lot of boundary cornerback this year and was very, very good. And then has played a lot of slot cornerback as well. So gives you some versatility this year in 11 games. Allowed 21 receptions on 38 targets for 133 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, and a pass rating of 69.3. So it's just a pick to end the mock draft and bring in more depth at the cornerback position. And who knows, maybe this guy could be a stud for the Seattle Seahawks. So here is what PFF has graded my mock draft. With our first pick for the Seattle Seahawks, we did go with Matthew Golden. This team needs playmakers, and Matthew Golden is a top 5 wide receiver in this year's draft class. Next pick will win Braden Swinson. I love this fit for the Seattle Seahawks team. They need more edge rushers. They need more speed at the edge position. And Braden Swinson is a very quick, explosive first step edge rusher in this year's draft class. Tate Ratledge is probably going to be the starting left guard for the future, taking over Anthony Bradford's spot. Got to be right there for that. Why Millam is a guy who has played left tackle, could possibly play right tackle, but like I said, Charles Cross is still very young. I don't want to give up on a young tackle in the NFL, but he's had his inconsistencies. You could definitely look to upgrade there, and who knows why Miller might be the better option once you get them in the same room. You never know. Troy Horton was our next pick. We got to see. Just a very solid player. I don't think he's like an explosive athlete or anything like that by any means, but Think of Josh Reynolds. Just Josh Reynolds. He gets open. He's going to catch the ball if you throw it to him. Throw it towards him. That's Toy Horton. Got to see right there. Luke Canadra is the next pick we got, and that is a B. This team definitely needs more interior offensive line help, and that was what we did right there. Cody Lindenberg might actually be a really good steal right here for the Seattle Seahawks in round 5. A very good tackler, very secure tackler, and he might be a guy who potentially down the line could be the starting linebacker. Jonah Monheim is a guy I really do like a lot because of his versatility later on in the draft for any team, and we got an A right there for that. RJ Mickens is just more of a dead piece, got to see. Elijah Badger is a guy who I barely started to get to watching, but I do like what I see on film. Got to see for that. And Mac McWilliams is just a dead piece. Got to see for that as well. We're in the top 48% for Seahawks drafts, and we got a B+. So let me know what you guys think in the comments about this mock draft. I think it's a fairly solid one. I really do like these first 4 to 5 picks right here. I think these first 3 guys right here, instant impacts and instant starters per se, maybe, for the Seattle Seahawks team. So let me know what you guys think in the comments about this mock draft. It's been your boy Sports Culture. I'm out.